This is Infection, the survival podcast recorded live on Tuesday, August the 24th, 2021, episode 345. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to another episode of Infection, the survival podcast. Infection is your source for the latest information on survival video games. My name is Nick Craig. You can check out my political rantings and other various things on my website, nickcraig.com. And of course, our website is, as it always is, infectionpodcast.com. Joining me as he does, rocking the casual, non-graphic tee.
Oh, I know. Yeah,
looking good.
Once in a while.
Brian with an I, Aldridge. Hello, Mr. Brian. How are you?
I'm doing well, and I'll probably start wearing button-ups again as it gets colder. Once it gets chilly, I'll
it's
start
August.
wearing long sleeves. I know, we got a little while to go.
Yeah, I mean, you're like, oh, when it gets colder. Next week, not the week after. Nope, the week after.
Well,
no.
by the end of October, it starts getting chilly here. So
yeah, but that's like 3 months away.
Yeah, I know. You got a plan here.
It's like 12 shows. That's an incalculable amount of time away, Brian. I can't even begin to imagine where we will be at that point. How are you, Mr. Brian?
That's true. I'm doing well. Well, first of all, if you want to find me at Brian Aldridge on Gavin Parlor, my blog, biteoftech.com. And then, as Nick said, just go to infectionpodcast.com. And on the right-hand side, you see where it says join our server on Discord. If you do that, you can, first of all, hang out, chat. It'll give you a direct way to contact us if you need to ask us a question, send us some information. And then there's a news channel. If there's a topic that you think would be appropriate for this podcast, something that you think we should be covering, jump into the Discord, post links into the Discord's news channel, and then that's something we review before every show. So that's really helpful, especially when there's, maybe today, right before the show, a news topic comes up, somebody sees it, they can toss it in there. It helps us to see it. Also, if you want to get the video forms of the podcast, go to Twitch, YouTube, BitChute, or DLive. We stream to those live, and some of them have recordings of it after the fact. And then the podcast extras has some example pre and post shows that we do. We also have the audio forms of the podcast. On the lower right-hand side, you just go through whatever platform, device. We have a lot of different ways that you can sit here and listen. If you are going to listen, I really encourage you to select the particular episode and follow along. We've got a video and audio player in there. We've got links for every topic that we discuss throughout the show. And so if you jump in there while you're listening, you can follow along, read the things and hear the things. Oh,
what happened to my iframe?
I'll have to look. Maybe we'll have to make sure that the plugin did update and lock itself or something.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, it's probably just a plugin. Like an iframe plugin. Anyways, so
I just try to do my best.
I know we got this. If you want to support the show, of course, you can go to infectionpodcast.com/support. We have the support tab at the top. You heard during the show. Thank you, Jonesy, for supporting the show 22 months in a row. And we also have Humble Bundle, Prime Gaming, which you just heard, Amazon Prime, just a lot of different ways. And next year, hopefully, there will be conventions for us to use it all out.
I'll say this before we get going. We dodged a bullet with PAX. It's next weekend, Brian. They have still not listed a single exhibitor that's going to be there.
Oh, this is going to be rough. I want to see some video of other people's video of it. I don't want us to go there and waste our money.
This I was on Reddit earlier. The not because I go to Reddit, but because I was on the PAX Reddit, and I want to quote this because I thought it was very funny. Damn, let me see if I can find it. This one guy said, damn it. I can't find it. He essentially said something, I can't wait to walk into a completely empty expo hall with one vendor set up in the middle selling board game units. I was like,
and then they have to have 6 feet between everybody. Everybody's just going to be standing there spread out. It's going to be a mess.
No exhibitors. Nobody's announced that they're even going. They haven't announced panels. Nothing. So
yeah, it's just is this just going to be all those people that love PAX, like the PAX people that we see every year, that really could care less about most of the video games? They could care less about the rest of the convention, but what it's actually happening, and they go there to see friends, which I can totally respect. I mean, we go there partially why we go there is to see friends, but that's just, there's a group of people that's what they do. They go to these conventions. There's some people that have pins and they've been to like every PAX convention for however many years. It's a club, and I think that's who they're mostly hosting it for, is to keep those people kind of locked into them.
Yeah, so
because there's not going to be much about video games.
There will not be. We do have our Vegas trip coming up in a couple of weeks, so I guess we're going full throttle with that. And would you look at that? The iframe is fixed. Amazing how that happens.
Yay!
Yeah, look at that. So it's just there was a damn paragraph tab around the iframe tag, which turned it into text.
You gotta love that.
Good stuff. So yeah, PAX going to be an abysmal disaster this year. Not our problem. Okay. Well, Brian, we have got a lot to get into today.
Yes.
And there's a couple of different ways that we can
topic.
start. Would you like to start with the non-gaming stuff or do that at the end? Because I do have some interesting thoughts on it.
Okay, let's go ahead and start. Let's go ahead and start with the non-gaming stuff, because I think
Okay.
I think you got some opinions.
So there's a website that people have heard of before. It's a pretty popular website for e-thoughts. It's called OnlyFans, and it's where girls can go and sell naked pictures of themselves for money, which is great. If that's what you want to do, more power to you. And if you want to pay to look at naked pictures of women, great, more power to you. Don't really care. But they have had to stop allowing this sort of explicit content, not because it's against their morals, not because they don't want to do it, but because their credit card processor, Brian, will no longer do business with them due to the type of material on their website, highlighting the biggest issue on the internet right now is PayPal, MasterCard, and Visa. Those three companies have a complete stranglehold over the balls of every single entity online that needs to collect payments. And when they decide, one or any of them decide, we do not want to do business with you, you are shit out of luck. There is nothing that you can do. You can't fight the banks. There's no other credit card processor because there's two, MasterCard and Visa. Any processor that you find interfaces with Visa and or MasterCard. Those are the two that they interface with. I know that there's millions of processors, but none of them are actually processing the payment. Visa and MasterCard are handling the processing. And when they say no more, no more. So as of October 1st, there will no longer be sexually explicit content on the website, which I believe is the only content on the website. So you talk about falling from grace.
Yeah, and this is, I think, one of the first times that liberals have caught one of these, because this is something that was happening, especially during the election, constantly to a lot of conservative, right-leaning, whatever, you can list them off as whatever ways, that they were shutting down. That's how they were trying to control them before the election happened, was shutting them down financially. And this is how they do it. They just say, hey, something about whatever you're saying, whatever you posted somewhere doesn't align with our choices, and so we are going to cut you off. And when it happens at the top level like this, these companies have no choice but to bend. And look at OnlyFans. They're pretty much accepting that they most likely will go out of business. I mean, I don't see that there's a way for them to transition to anything normal. Because they could try to be, some other thing, kind of like a Kickstarter, do something that's like that, but they're based on sex. It's going to be hard to rewrite that image.
Well, and if you remember back, this was 8-10 months ago, Pornhub went through a similar thing where they had to purge content that was not uploaded from verified accounts because of a similar thing. Their payment processor said, well, it's because there was an incredible amount of illegal pornography on the website, people that did not consent to themselves being recorded. There was reports of child pornography being all over the site, and their processor said, hey, this stuff needs to go away. And they said, okay, verified content only. And they made that change. And I think that solved their problem with their credit card processor. But in the case of OnlyFans, they're not big enough, I guess, to because they
To work with
obviously
like that? I don't know.
I would assume that there's still porn on Pornhub because they just removed the explicit content or just the unverified content.
They probably just don't allow people to upload random porn.
But there's still
Because,
porn. Is
first
my
of all,
point. So,
yeah,
but OnlyFans is no
but the thing
more.
is, they can't verify that it's not someone else. They're not being exploited unless they verify, have someone sign, I'm not being exploited. I'm doing this of my own choice, and all the agreements.
I would assume that as an OnlyFans content creator, you have to submit that documentation, because if not, they could be held liable for hosting things like a 16-year-old, which would be illegal.
Yeah.
So yes. I can only imagine as an OnlyFans content creator, you have to upload a license or something, so a social security, I don't know what, but something to verify your identity.
Probably driver's license and something proving you're an adult, and
sure.
that it's you.
So that's the odd thing about
but maybe they don't do that. Maybe that's an issue. Maybe that's that they have to redo things in the background, and maybe there's a chance that they will re-enable certain aspects of it. But if they do, they probably should roll it out and try to figure out a way to get this side of it, kind of like what Twitch hasn't done. Separate the two sides. If you want to have a legitimate, find something that's a legitimate aspect of your company that could be legitimate, and keep the other side too. So that if one gets shut down, your company doesn't fold like this. Because if they don't come up with something quick, turn it around and come back with another option within a month, I would say, I think that they'll fade away and never come back.
Yeah. So I mean, looking at the calendar here, unless something changes in the next 30 days, hopefully the girls that were making millions of dollars a month on OnlyFans were putting it into an ETF or something smart and not just pissing it all away, because that money is going to be gone. And obviously there will be other services that pop up, but it won't be long before they gain popularity to the size of OnlyFans and are in the same boat. And unfortunately, this is kind of the argument, Brian, as you mentioned, that the conservatives have been yelling at for years, is that there's a few companies in various sectors that have a complete stranglehold over the system. And in the case of credit card processing, there's nothing you can do. What are you going to do? Start your own bank? You don't like Twitter? Start your own. What are you going to do? Start your own bank?
Yeah.
How are you going to accept transactions as a bank?
Even if you start your own bank, you're still going through MasterCard, Visa. Yes. There's Chase. You name the bank, they're still using 3 or maybe 4
services,
total credit card processors.
Yeah,
that's it. And if you don't fit into one of those, you don't fit in any. There's nothing you're going to go be able to swipe, because you're going to have to go to every person that's taking a card in the country and provide them with a device to scan your little precious card. So there's very hard to get into that system.
Now, PH is saying crypto is the future. Now, that is a solution. The only problem you've got with something like OnlyFans is that it's so mainstream. I don't know how that would work. And then now you're and are the individual and the content creators, are they going to want to work for fake money for all intents and purposes? Because now they're going to have to convert that back to USD on some sort of exchange. You've now added many, they're not complicated steps, but many complicated steps to, the way it works right now is you go to OnlyFans, you put in a credit or debit card. It's a USD transaction. OnlyFans takes the money, pays the content creator in USD. Everybody's happy. Under this scenario, you'd have to go to an exchange, take your money, turn it into some sort of crypto, use the crypto on the service. OnlyFans would take the crypto, then pay the crypto out to the content creator, and then now they're going to have to figure out how to convert that from crypto to that. And the fluctuating market makes that a lot harder for them to deal with. So yeah, I think
that's the biggest concern, is the fluctuating market. It's difficult for a place to set a price on an item when it's like a stock exchange. The price is constantly changing throughout the day. It could be worth 10% more in the morning than it is at night. That's not a good option. It needs to stabilize. They need to figure out how to get crypto stable. And
Well,
there are
but
some that are more stable than others, but they need to get it to somehow figure out a way to normalize that market.
I
to
don't
make
think they
it
do.
a
No, I
consistent
completely
currency.
disagree with you.
You don't think so?
I think part of crypto is the instability. I think that's part of what makes it
But
so
I'm talking
unique,
about
because it's
the
not
vendors
controlled.
that are taking that as an exchange for a product.
It's-
That's a huge risk for them. Businesses don't want risk like a person who's day trading.
I agree, and I'm not. I
Yeah.
agree with your sentiment. I agree.
That's
with
what I'm
you,
saying.
but
For the person, it's
Yeah.
good, but I think the business, it's very risky to get them
It
to
is-
accept that risk, because they
it
could
is very risky.
get all this money, and in the morning, their value of what they just took in for all this product could be 10% less in the morning. Now,
Yeah.
that's a possibility with the dollar, right? But it's much more stable. The chances of that are much smaller than it is with Bitcoin.
Yeah, and PH is pointing out Tether, which is USDT, which is a coin, which is, yes, it is.
Yep.
It is pretty stable. I mean, it pretty much hangs around $1. But
Yep.
again, you're talking about I think it's accurate to say that OnlyFans is a mainstream platform. Accurate? Like,
Yes,
regular
it is.
everyday people that are not techies, do not do crypto, do not do any of this stuff.
People that are not nerds like us know what. If you went out in the street and asked people, "Do you know what OnlyFans is?" You would get
Yes.
a much higher percentage than if you asked them some of the things that we talk about.
Yeah. So I think that's probably some of the, not the hesitation, but that would be some of the issues potentially with it.
Yep.
PH says porn pushes tech forward. It might seem weird now. Give it a year. I think the future will be this eventually, but I don't think you've got enough people using that platform that have bought into cryptocurrency. In a different avenue, in a different area in which you've got a different user base that is a little bit more high tech, a little bit more nerdy, I think you could probably do something like that. But you're not going to have these. You're not going to have these girls with, I'll just make up a number, 15,000 or 20,000 monthly subscribers using something like Tether as their source of pay. I just don't think you have enough people to do that. Can they still make money? Yes. Can they still make good money? Yes. Can they still make thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars a month? Absolutely. But are they going to be making millions of dollars a month like they're doing right now, outside of taking the US dollar? I don't think so. It's going to be a significant cut for them, and it's also going to be a significant cut for the middleman here, which is OnlyFans, because not only is the fluctuation of the coin price affect the content creator, but it also affects OnlyFans, that is either going to be holding a large asset of that, is going to have a large sum of assets because they're taking a small percentage off the top of every transaction, or are they constantly trading that to US dollar? There's just a lot of things from a business model standpoint that I'm not sure that we are there yet. I think we will be there
right now. The
soon,
danger,
but not right now.
Yeah. And I think right now, like, the dangers of someone who's high profile, Elon Musk goes and says a few words, and a whole stock exchange sit there and jumps or dumps.
I mean, he crashed Bitcoin back 4 months ago.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that until they can figure out how to make it to where that is not something that can easily happen, because right now you can have one person come in and disrupt a whole market, and they know it. I think that happens in other aspects. You could really get into the conspiracy theories about how that happens in government and with other people.
But a dollar is always a dollar.
This is a very real version of that happening, like, big time, right in front of your face instantly.
Yeah.
And I just think until they figure out how to prevent that from happening, having a star come in and say, "Oh, this currency's crap, this other one's good," and have that one dump and then this one go up, they just can't have that happening with something that's considered a payment source for a company to take, because they can't. If it takes them weeks to get it to where they're moving funds around, and the price, that there's a chance that the price is just tanked in that time, they just can't do that kind of business. That's the reason they don't use stock exchanges to trade currency.
PH says they will lose some people compared to losing everyone because they can't allow porn. It's an interesting point. So you might see some sort of transition. I don't know what's going to happen, but I will say this. Tim Stokely, or whatever his name is, says that it's unfair treatment by the banks. Welcome to the club, my friend. Now you know what it feels like to have been a conservative on the internet.
they're finally getting a taste of what it's like of when people don't like what you have,
Yeah.
sitting there and saying, "Oh well, we don't like what you say, so here we're going to ban you." That's the one thing you can disagree with the other side, but the one thing they don't do is say you don't have the right to speak, and that is the biggest thing. And here they're saying you don't have the right, and I don't think that's true. There's no other option for this company.
Correct. At least as of right now. So this is a developing
without
story.
them changing a drastic major structure change.
Yeah. So maybe they'll work out a deal. I'm not sure what will happen. But at least as it sits right now, the proverbial clock is ticking for OnlyFans. So if I were an OnlyFans girl, I would be running my 50% off sales now and trying to get as many subs in over the next month or so to get as much cash as possible prior to this October 1st deadline. And because then once they get rid of the sexual content, then it's pretty much just Patreon. And Patreon's already a very successful platform. So
they'd have to figure out how to, unless they take this and say, let's stand for the rights of whatever, and they try to make this a movement or try to make it, some sort of statement with it. I just don't see them doing that so far. They seem like they're just kind of cowering to it. And maybe they just have realized that this is a risky business to be in, and they're going to go and invest into something else, start up something new.
I mean, if I was this guy, I'm sure that he has made millions, tens of millions, potentially hundreds of millions of dollars on this service. So while it sucks, if he's, if he wants to do the crusade, more power to him. But if I were him, I'd take the money and start the next service and hope for the best.
And one thing is, I thought it was entertaining. I threw it in here because TechCrunch now says that content creators need a bill of rights, which I don't even know what that means. I don't know how.
Fuck TechCrunch.
How?
Give me the content creators that we agree with.
Yeah, I know. I think this is funny. They're saying that content creators. I've heard them try to silence people plenty. It's only when a slight little tap in their direction comes. Oh, we need a bill of rights for content creators. This is the first tap that they've had on their end of the bow. I just think it's kind of funny.
And who wrote this article? Let's see who wrote this article.
This is Bremner Morris.
I mean, what a jerk off. I mean, really? Really?
Yeah.
After TechCrunch, which did nothing but salute social media platforms for
silencing
accounts,
people,
shadow banning and silencing. So this is their creator bill of rights that here are a couple of jumping off points according to the TechCrunch article. The ability to move freely across platforms. Reliance on an individual platform is at the heart of many issues that creators face, Brian. By allowing creators to take their fans with them wherever they go, many of the problems we've seen even with direct-to-fan monetization can be solved. Okay. Direct financial relationships between creators and fans. You can't have that, you stupid jackass. There's somebody in the middle. Yeah. Who the hell's going to... Brian, if I hand you my credit card, what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with it?
Yeah,
nothing.
Nothing.
Are you going to eat it? Shove it up your ass? What are you going to do with it? It doesn't give you anything.
Well, I assume that they are saying use Bitcoin or something direct with that person, but that they don't realize that's still going through a company. If that company decides,
it's not even what they're saying. Even if direct financial relationships aren't feasible on every platform, creators should have the option to own those relationships. No, the bank owns those relationships. You can't process money unless you're doing a cash transaction without a bank or check.
Do you think? Okay. Hey, do you think that maybe they're hinting at some sort of a blockchain something where you're keeping track of credits in sort of a blockchain, for people, so that I just wonder if they're thinking that they need to have this external blockchain thing keeping track of things for people. Because how else are you going to do it? It's either going to be a company and you're going to run into the same problem. You give anyone power, and in the end, it ends up in the same place.
I'll end on this. This is my favorite one, Brian. The ability for reform and rehabilitation. We are all human. That we are all human, Brian. And there might be moments that a creator knowingly or unknowingly goes outside of the guidelines set by a platform. Now, normally, we would cheer that on and say, yay, good, you should be banned. Instead, they should create a space for creators to rehabilitate their image to create more trusting and collaborative relationships between creators and platforms. Hey, TechCrunch, fuck you. That's what I say.
Yeah.
That's what I say to. And sorry for being so explicit, but fuck TechCrunch. They have done nothing but champion on social media's draconian acts of silencing and censoring people that they don't agree with. And then they have the audacity to put this bullshit on their website. This Bremer Morris guy is a jackass. Oh, and of course, his fucking Twitter account is private.
Oh yeah, he must have gotten a little bit of feedback about this.
All right, I'm done
from some people on Twitter. Well, and this is the thing. I don't know how a company like this that can sit there and they talk about and they promote limiting free speech constantly on their platform by saying silence this person. They don't have the right to speak. But then they turn around and say everyone has the right to speak, but they might have to be rehabilitated. Rehabilitated only means to make you more like me, right? Rehabilitated.
Are there no comments on here anymore? Oh, I guess they don't do comments on TechCrunch anymore. I'd love to read the comments on this article.
Yeah, they learned
comment
to cut some of those things out.
Wait,
yeah, I'm not seeing. I mean, I see where you can you can link it to,
but it doesn't do anything. It's because I have ad blocker on. Let's see. I would love to see what the comments are.
See.
Oh, yeah, here we go.
Is there two?
Yes, there. Yes.
Nice. TechCrunch is doing great nowadays. TechCrunch is really looking up. Wow.
Great.
These guys are good.
Phenomenal. Well, good. You know, again, I hate, because, Brian, I'm a capitalist. We've been through this before. And if girls or guys or its or thems or whatever acronym you go by can make money by selling pictures of yourself or videos of yourself on the internet, I've got no place, no moral high ground, no cliff to stand on and shout you down and say you shouldn't be able to do that. If it's legal and it's a consenting thing, as in you are taking pictures of yourself and posting them on this platform for money, I don't care. But I feel the same way about everybody on every platform. Yeah. These people are just using it now as their, this is unbelievable, this is ridiculous. Yet when individuals are banned off YouTube and they lose their income, lose their livelihood, good to go, because they're evil people that we disagree with politically. And it sucks because you've got a lot of girls now that are in situations where, and again, I don't feel sorry for them because they've done, this was their choice to do. What is your marketable skill?
Yeah.
I mean, those images get ripped and are all over the internet. There are sites that are dedicated to ripping content off of sites like OnlyFans and re-uploading it.
And then resharing it, yeah.
That stuff's not going to go away, even if OnlyFans does go away.
And my counter to people that say, they don't like this being an option, we have managed to create a fairly good size of a generation that is unemployable. Yeah. I mean, I'm being honest. I'm not like making fun of anybody. We've created an unemployable generation that, I mean, I'm not saying everybody, because I know some people that are incredibly talented, incredibly smart. And
thanks, Brian.
Any of the generations I work with. Exactly. I mean, Nick and I have been friends for a long time. I'm
kind of a big deal.
and so it's definitely not that it's the generation itself, but it's the teachings and the things that they have turned them into. They made them unemployable. This is a perfect option for unemployable people. People like looking at people that are odd, different, or beautiful, whatever you name it. There's people, not everybody on OnlyFans, I promise you, is beautiful. There's some weirdos on there for sure. People that cannot get a job anywhere else.
We read an article. Didn't we read an article about them a couple months ago about how it was unfair that some girls were making more and we looked at them and they were just ugly?
Yeah. I mean,
we literally talked about that. I don't know what the context was, but we talked about it.
Yeah, and so it's just
it's unfair.
It's a good thing. View it as a good thing. There's a way for them without even having to leave their house to interact with you on a daily basis. They can get money and continue to feed themselves, and they're not on welfare. Love it.
It's the free market working its magic.
Yeah, exactly.
So we have now.
But if they realized that was happening, they would be like, "Oh, that's awful."
So we've done 30 minutes of pornography talk, Brian. I think we've burned half of our show on that, but I think it's an interesting point. What do we have? What do we have next? We're gonna have to rapid fire here for the last 30 minutes.
All right, let's go right down the same line of thinking, and let's go talk about Unity for a minute.
Okay.
People are pissed at Unity. Employees at Unity are getting pissed because Unity is going to be working with the military to create software that helps train, for training and things like that.
Jesus Christ, can't have that.
So people, of course, Vice used to be a pretty good
Gavin McGinnis's operation.
Yeah. Then they got taken over. Vice is its own thing now. So they're anti-Unity now because what they call GovTech projects. There was an internal memo that was sent around called GovTech Projects Communication Protocol, which was shared with the Waypoint, but not distributed widely within Unity itself. And it talked about internal, external stakeholders, and the line that they're walking with defense. They want to use the word defense, government instead of military. Just because they get a lot of people on both sides of the political aisle there. They're trying not to offend a certain side with words like military. So you get a lot of people that are frustrated at that company. And I just don't know. I mean, that's an excellent place to get into. Especially for training. Why wouldn't we want to train soldiers in an environment that doesn't put them at physical risk?
It's pretty funny, Brian. Vice's web host is a company known as Fastly. They are hosted on Microsoft's Azure cloud. Microsoft also has government contracts, so Vice should pull down their website immediately.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ones that work. Amazon does.
Every large tech company deals with the government. Yes.
I promise you, Apple probably does in some area or another.
They do.
All those devices that you guys are carrying in your pocket, the iBook or whatever you're carrying around in your little bag. Yeah, your palm. Those are all working with companies that do things with the military because there's a lot of money in government. A lot of money. Your tax money.
Yeah, well, it's quite ironic for them to be saying that, yet their website's literally hosted by a company that takes money from the government. So thanks, Vice. Continuing to show your nonsensical stuff, but good stuff. And also, it's the employees that aren't happy either.
Yeah, well, yes, the employees that are getting all pissed. And that's the problem. Now, they always talk about when they're hiring, having a lot of diversity. And one thing I can tell you, in the tech industry, there is not a lot of diversity. Because you're getting it pushing towards one side and you're silencing another side. That's not what diversity means. Diversity means all sides have a voice. I just wanted to point that out. Unity, they acquired a new AI chat analysis platform this week, and it's one that has it tries to figure out the emotions behind vocals.
Oh boy!
So especially and I'm wondering if this is kind of based on they're wanting to intercede with toxic multiplayer gaming environments, through audio chat analysis. Once again, so they're looking at what you're saying, trying to figure out if you're being friendly, if you're being mean. It looks at a lot of different markers in it and tries to determine if you're having negative speech, so that you could filter out in a game speech that is not positive. So
would you like to can I read a
go right ahead
from this show is off the rails. Toxicity gets violent. Sam Hanburnen was playing Call of Duty on Xbox at his family house in Connecticut, Brian. The Washington Post reports.
So is he living in his basement?
When he began getting invites to play from other gamers. At first, Sam said in the interview, "It was great. I was talking trash. They were talking trash, but the tone of the conversation shifted dramatically. That's when the other gamers told him that they were going to kill him. Sam said, quote, I almost felt unsafe in my own house, which is not a good feeling. It's not a good feeling I like to get from playing Xbox Live." Don't know exactly why that's relevant, but it's on their website.
Yeah. So, I mean, was it a game where their goal is to kill you?
They were playing Call of Duty.
Most games on the internet, the goal is to kill the other person. So if they say, "Hey, I'm going to get you. I'm going to get you. I'm going to kill you,"
I'm sure that
it may not mean they're coming to your house.
Well, it was in the Washington Post. So
they might be coming to your base. Something like that.
Yeah. Or they literally told him to kill himself, which would be pretty typical in Call of Duty. I either tell somebody tells me to kill myself multiple times a night in Call of Duty.
I mean, you also say never mind. Okay, so
I am nothing but respectful. People are always yelling things and
I know, but I'm saying I was going to say what you say about yourself. You say that plenty. So
yeah, well, Mel can.
I mean, no one else needs to tell you.
Mel can testify this. I'm constantly getting crucified for playing Call of Duty. I'm this. I'm that. I'm all of the gamer words combined. It's fine. I enjoy it.
All right, so we got one. We've got. Should we go into Tencent today?
Yeah, let's just do Tencent and wrap it up.
Let's just do it. Let's do it. Okay, because the other stuff can wait till next week. All right, Tencent. First of all, let's talk a little bit about how Tencent is doing at the moment. They're on track to be one of the $1 trillion companies.
Wow.
Now, when I say $1 trillion company, what's some companies that you think of when you think $1 trillion companies?
Apple. I know Apple's a $1 trillion company.
Yes, that's one of them.
Oracle, I would assume, is a $1 trillion company, or at least close to it.
Not one of the. Let's say not one of the top 5.
Okay, Microsoft is definitely a $1 trillion company.
Yeah.
Google would be a $1 trillion company.
That's one of them.
Walmart, are they a $1 trillion company? I would assume so.
Well, not in the top 5.
Okay. Amazon is a $1 trillion company.
Okay, there's Amazon, and the last one you probably never heard of them. They're number 3, Saudi Aramco.
I'm a big investor in Saudi Aramco. Actually, I'm the vice chairman of Saudi Aramco. I assume it's an oil company, something like that.
I assume it's an oil company, but yeah. So those are the 5 top companies for the $1 trillion club, with the $1 trillion market cap. Apple has a 2.2. So there's more than
natural
5
gas
for sure.
company.
Okay, yeah. So Apple has a 2.12. Microsoft is a 1.91 trillion. That one has a 1.89. Amazon's 1.66. Google is 1.64. So just think of the size of this company. And they're saying that Tencent and Tesla, by the way, are going to be joining that $1 trillion club in next year. So this is shows you how fast they're going. One thing that has been kind of a worry for them, and it actually hurt them a little bit in stocks, is the recent rule changes, that China's pushing forward with the gaming.
Yeah,
this has been a big thing. One thing that Tencent has said is that they're pledging to work with China on these regulations. Not like they have a choice.
But China owns them. Or
yes,
at least
I know,
but
China likes to keep it as but China likes to keep it. But China owns private companies, right?
True.
They still kind of operate by themselves, but China tells them what to do. So China's just telling them what to do. They still these companies kind of run themselves, but they just have to do what China says.
Okay.
So they're going through here, and they're saying that they think that they're going to recover from this. They think that they'll be able to work with China, continue to maintain their market share in this. And we'll see. I don't know if this is something that they can fully recover from if China continues to do what they say they're going to do. I am not 100% confident that they're going to continue on this. They may be kind of saber rattling a little bit right now.
I can say this: they might struggle in China, but this would open the door for them to put a heavier influence on Western gaming.
Yeah,
which they've done by buying companies like Riot, buying parts of Epic.
Let's talk about some of the recent purchases. Here's some recent purchases since the announcement by China. Sure. One thing they just did is they got this a Korean company, and this is one that takes mobile games and makes them playable on PC. So they're making a push. Why they're going to the PC? One thing they do in China with a lot of these games is they really do a lot of mobile games over in China. I'm wondering if they're saying, let's take some of these China games, port them to PC, and start pushing them to outside of China.
See, but they do that now. Option. The only problem with that is we've seen a lot of these mobile games that make their way to PC, and there's no market for them because they're just not. They can't hold a candle to anything.
But this is a really big market in South Korea. This market that they're doing. South Korea is a very big market, so they're going to be this. It's called Application Mall One Store. It's a Korean application called Mall One Store or Mall One, and it's
called
used a
One
lot
Store.
there. And okay, so it's Application Mall One Store. So
Yeah.
ONE and then store. And so they go through and make these games mobile or PC compatible, and then people can run this little Android marketplace type of thing and install these games. So makes it so they can hit the bigger screens on PC. I guess kind of by that way you don't have to use a little Android emulator, and
Yeah,
and
right.
have to
Streams
deal with all that.
it's using Tencent Cloud, so the game is essentially streaming.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yes, and then one thing that they did do, they purchased. I think one company that's really been affected, or one of their purchases that's really been affected by this, has been Leiyu, because they acquired Leiyu. They had a lot of canceled projects and just things kind of going crazy over there. And that company, that was one that they beat out. I think it was Google and like huge, or Amazon. There was just huge other companies vying for this. They got it, and they've just let it die. And I guess that's the problem is when they have, you have that much money, you can let a company that's worth, millions and millions and millions of dollars just kind of wither on the vine and go away if it's not convenient. And that seems to be what they're doing. So there are some consequences of some of the recent changes and things that they've done. They're trying to counter that, though, by putting a lot of money into social aid. So they've doubled their social aid to $15 billion because of all the people, how they're talking about their company currently. So they're trying to do a lot of
social aid.
Well,
what
and
does that mean?
in China, that can mean it can mean a lot of things.
Yeah. Are they doing like rehab? Is that like what they say? Like if they're claiming like, oh, video games are addictive, is that the kind of social aid that they're talking about?
Well, I'm trying to see that. I don't know. It's not letting me see. It says social responsibility programs. And we know what that means in the United States.
Yeah, I don't know what that means in China. Because like for example, the 1-800-Gamblers hotline. Like if you ever see a gambling commercial on television or hear one on the radio, it's DraftKings, gamble responsibly, gambling addiction, call 1-800-Gambler. Like that's the social program that those big companies pay into.
Okay, so here's where it's going. So it's going to be for increasing incomes for the poor, improving medical assistance, promoting rural economic efficiency, and subsidizing educational programs.
So they're trying to buy themselves good political stance.
Points, yes, yeah. By saying we help feed the poor and do all these things. So that's what they're currently doing to, and we do the same thing here. Look at carbon credits. What are carbon credits?
Yeah, you can buy and sell them from companies. Yeah, you can buy them.
Yeah, you can buy and sell carbon credits. You're buying virtual, I made some dirty over here, so let me give you some money. It's going to magically make it clean. So we'll trade it around later. I have no idea.
But it's like NFTs.
So they're kind of doing
sense.
I know. It's like people say, one of that was funny is like it was like spelled wrong or there was something wrong. It wasn't even right. And like the person paid a huge amount of money and it just makes no sense. Like, what is the point?
Did you know they're doing a cool cat NFTs now?
Oh, we should we'll check that out.
I was going to say we should blow all of our tax money on, or our PAX money on a cool cat NFT.
Just get a cool cat. Yeah, let's do it.
Sorry, guys. Appreciate your 22 months of Twitch Prime support. We bought a picture of Cool Cat. We'll be back next week.
So another one that they've done is like they purchased a studio called Studio 9. It's an animation studio, so they're not backing down from gaming.
Studio 9. That sounds
they're a big animation Chinese animation company. So I don't know what I'd have to look and see what they actually have made things in.
They do a bunch of anime stuff. Okay, yeah, that's because I was going to say
they do a lot of
I'm
animation.
very familiar with. I've seen the logo Studio 9 a bunch. Okay, interesting.
And I think Studio 9 Productions Studio 9 Studio. I don't know what it's called, but yeah, you'd have to look it up. They do a lot of different things. So they're still purchasing. They purchased that just got approved. It's still going through. And then, they're confirming they're going to vow another $7.7 billion to boost Beijing's wealth redistribution efforts. Now, if you want to know what all of this, the government owning companies really is about, this is it right here. Political wealth movement. And that's, it's funny how this, at the end of the day, this is what it really comes down to. These guys didn't do what the people in position of power thought they should do. How do you make up for that? You put money in the various programs that the people that are mad at you like. And this is exactly what they're doing.
Crazy.
It's kind of sad. It's kind of sad. I mean, yeah. And this is just, I figured I would kind of show you the whole thing, because in the end, it comes down to money. It comes down to, they did something, that they're doing something that they don't agree with. Well, how do you make up for that? You give money to people. You don't change anything. Well, because what did they said they're changing, really?
Yeah, well,
they haven't said they're changing anything. They're just giving out money.
Yeah, and the issue that from what I have read, is the issue that the Chinese government has is that they feel, and I would actually make the argument that they're right, but the way they're going about it is wrong, is they feel that a generation of individuals are lazy and not wanting to do anything. And in that case, they're right. The solution to that, though, is not banning video games. It's, at least in China, why would you want to do? Well, that's the whole problem, is it's the whole Chinese system.
The problem is here, that's what capitalism pushes and promotes, is for you to go out and do something with yourself so you can have more than the person next to you. That's the whole goal. Over there, what are you going to teach them? What are you going to show them to make them want to do something different and better? There's nothing you could teach and show them to do better, because you're telling them that they shouldn't have to work any harder or do anything different than the person next to them. You're teaching them to be mediocre, and then you're pissed that they're mediocre, right? I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
How dare you? Do not
How dare you sit at home and do nothing when you have no motivation in your life to do anything?
Yeah, because your government holds you down and tells you how you can live your life and what you can do with it.
Yeah. They don't, so one thing though, I'm going to actually contradict myself. I'm going to contradict myself a little bit, because they do have kind of a weird internal form of capitalism there. When I was in Paris, I was sitting next to somebody from China in a line waiting to go into some place. And so I just started, with the podcast, we talk about China a lot. I figured this is a good opportunity to sit there and talk to him. And so I had a long conversation with them. Yeah, well, and he said, we're creating a company that's going to, sell products and, create products and sell products, which happens a lot in China, a lot of bootlegging and then selling products based on that look like or similar to other ones. And he said that over there, they are very unregulated, which we know internally in the country. The problem is there's a lot of regulations, but they allow them to pretty much do whatever they want when it comes to business.
Yeah, there's no patent law, nothing.
There's no patent laws. There's no copyright laws. You can make and do whatever you want. As long as people want to buy it, you're good, right? So they have this weird form of that, which discourages capitalism. They're taking capitalism, but then they're making it a weird form of it, because you're allowing people to steal from each other. Capitalism doesn't work if you openly allow everyone to steal. People want to they look at Linux and open source licensing and all that, and they say, hey, look, it works. There's a lot of rules behind that. You can't just take someone else's work and claim it for your own. The person has to say, I'm allowing someone else to use this work. It's not like this form of communism that they seem to love to say, hey, we agree with that, because over there, they allow people to steal and backstab everybody as much as you want. And, it doesn't work in capitalism. So I just don't see them ever getting out of this hump unless they start to tell people you have to treat the person next to you with respect, which they don't do.
Yeah. Well, we shall continue to follow Tencent. It is going to be interesting, to say the least, and see if they can try to work on their current struggles with the great CCP over in China. Brian, Gamescom is going on. There's
one thing I wanted to do. I wanted to finish up one more thing with that. One thing we found out, so Google and Tencent, they tried to team up to take over Epic. When Epic started to give a little bit of backlash or pushback with the payments for Google, something with the Google Play Store profits, they tried to work with Tencent to actually get a majority takeover of Epic, just because they were pissed about it. And so in the end, though, it came out, it was because Tencent, they brought Tencent in, hoping that they could work with them. Tencent is the one that inspired Epic to bypass Google Play in the first place. They were the people that suggested it to them. And then them worked with Google to try to take over the company. And you're trying to, any of you wonder the ethics of Tencent? That was a perfect display right there, one that didn't play out for them. But you wonder how they come over and take over companies. There's an example right there. They tried to use one of the other top 5 companies in the world to try to take over another company that they felt was a rival to them.
Good stuff.
So I just wanted to make sure I ended it with that, because that was something at the very end that almost happened that would have been very drastic change for a lot of things that we're seeing now if that would have gone through.
Absolutely. And of course, Google.
And how many other areas do you think Tencent might be cutting short other companies that we're just not seeing? How many other innovations? So
no idea. Yeah, I mean, it could be. Yeah, who knows?
I mean, we there's how many of these are happening? How many of these takeovers were done in a way that the company really couldn't do anything about it, and now, they're just taking in the funds from it. They're probably not going to get all the advancements that they would have if that company would have stayed private. Like,
true.
I can almost guarantee you, UE5 would not be where it was if they were taken over by Tencent completely and Google.
This is true. I would tend to agree. Gamescom is going on right now. There's been some announcements. One of them is a big one coming to Xbox, Brian. They are bringing Xbox Cloud Gaming to Xbox consoles, and there's a little video that was released today in relation to that.
So when I think about cloud and when I think about gaming, those two things together to me really show you the future, where you can pick up something and you could play it anywhere and you could do it quickly.
Cloud gaming is phenomenal.
This is pretty great. I mean, that's pretty awesome.
This actually looks so good.
Games are large and you want to keep the ones that you love on your hard drive. Xbox Cloud Gaming is about being able to discover the new ones right away. It's super exciting that for our Game Pass Ultimate members, they will get to experience Xbox Cloud Gaming on whatever console they have.
Cloud gaming is really about looking at how people play differently. I know me in particular, sometimes I just have 20 minutes.
It should be as easy as finding the game that you look for on your console and just jumping right in.
We're targeting 1080p at 60 frames per second.
What's crazy about this is like the latency. This is the kind of stuff you need with cloud gaming.
Oh, 60 frames? That's actually very smooth.
The process itself to get into cloud gaming feels like you're playing on console, right? You go, you find the game you want, you press play.
It's so easy nowadays. You can pick up any device and pretty much play any Xbox game on Game Pass.
If my friends have titles that I don't have yet, I can just wait for them to send me an invite. It makes content just so much more accessible.
I really love the flexibility. It's awesome.
Everything that Xbox is doing right now is just getting rid of the limits of having to be on a specific platform or a specific console, play on PC and mobile, and now on Gen 8.
Yeah, Gen 8 consoles can play Gen 9 content. Isn't that so cool?
With cloud gaming, we have the ability, because you are connecting to consoles that are in our data centers, to allow the Gen 8 customers, the Xbox One customers, to play games that their hardware wouldn't have been able to play without it.
There's so much opportunity when it comes to thinking about how we can make content more readily available and let people play where they want to. Sign me up. I'm ready for cloud gaming right now. Let's do it. When's the release date? When does it release?
So that's coming holiday of this year, and one of the big points that they mentioned, Brian, was that for the folks that have the older consoles like I do, still using the Xbox essentially as a
current generation device.
I don't know what the word. It is, but there's like.
I mean, they're making it.
It's kind of like a dumb terminal, essentially.
It's like exactly.
It's essentially a terminal.
It's pretty much the exact same thing that your Roku is. It's It's all of that. The thing, and I told you so in the chat because this is what I've been saying. That I think they realize they can't stick with hardware. There's too much fluctuation. They can't keep saying they're going to push out this piece of hardware because look, they're starting to realize they're so outdated too quickly. And with cloud gaming, you can have something that's so much more advanced because they can just keep updating the hardware constantly. They don't need to care what the hardware is because they can make it a virtual hardware and just make it as powerful as it needs to be to run the games that they're making, right? That's the goal. You got to figure out what's the cost efficiency, how powerful of a system we give them, to run a game and still make money. And they'll give you the games that are that powerful. I just think that this is the beginning of the end for hardware consoles of being the de facto standard.
For the price of two $60 titles a year, which Game Pass Ultimate's $120 a year.
You get plenty of local games. You get plenty of cloud stream games to whatever device you want. I can stream Xbox games. I can stream Red Dead Redemption to this phone right now if I wanted to. Cyberpunk, whatever I want, I can be playing it on here. And then if I want to link my Xbox controller to it or my PlayStation controller to it, I can sit there and play them. Wait till they get to the glasses, the wraparound glasses where you're just playing with a controller and you've got some sort of a heads-up display with your game on it. There's no point. The console is going to die. People want to play games everywhere. We're getting soon satellite internet that will give you 300 megabits almost anywhere in the world, and he's going to turn it on to where you're going to soon have devices that are sitting there, they're low flying. Right now they're on satellites. I bet you're going to get to the point where we have things to where that kind of internet's just worldwide. We're on the cusp of it right now with somewhat expensive devices at the moment. I just the way that games are consumed is changing, and I think Microsoft is one of the only ones that's on top of it at the moment, and they see it, and I think that they're right there because they're doing all the steps necessary. I think they're going to make all these other ones just seem foolish. Yeah,
I would agree with that. I think this has been a quite the roller coaster for Microsoft, but they're definitely trekking up right now, no question about it. In other Gamescom news, a Saints Row reboot is
because they haven't put out a Saints Row.
It's possible
a little while.
They're going to be doing a live stream. They haven't actually announced it yet. They're going to be doing the Saints Row Twitter account confirmed that the reboot will be a whole new game and not a remaster or a remake. So in a new world. Saints Row. Yeah. Well,
it's going to be in a new world as well.
When did the last Saints Row
a remade map?
I mean, Saints Row 5 has been out for years.
Yeah, let me see if I'll get that really quick.
No, Saints
2006 was the Saints Row was on Xbox 360 in August of 2006.
Saints Row 3, I should say, is the most recent.
So Saints Row 3
or maybe 4.
Let me see. I got to find this franchise.
2013, possibly.
Yeah. So Saints Row 3 came out in 2011. So Saints Row the Third, is that the one you're talking about?
That's the last. Yeah. Then they released the Get Out of Hell, but that was an expansion. So it's been since 2013 since Saints Row, which was So between 2011 and 2013, it has been a significant period of time since there's been a Saints Row game, which is Saints Row was a boatload of fun.
Oh yeah, it was ridiculous. Like it was just a way over the top.
Yeah, it was Grand Theft Auto, but crazy.
Yeah, just ridiculous. And and so hey, this is something you're going to be doing. I kind of like this because I think people get a little too stuffy about some video games, and this is just one of those ones that just piss anybody off if you show it to the right person. So I think we need some games like this. Used to be Postal did this, the original GTA did this. It got all these people really pissed.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. I used to have it on my computer for PC, and it was like I felt you felt kind of naughty having it, and all you're doing is
walking around just peeing
stuff that people do all day now.
Yeah, walking around peeing on things. Going postal.
We should rename it. We should rename it like we could call it Seattle Simulator, something like that.
Seattle Simulator. That's good stuff. Lots of the Gamescom announcements happening over the next couple of days. The big launch event is tomorrow. The stream starts tomorrow morning at, I think, 2 o'clock Eastern is when the grand opening of it is. So
okay, cool. So maybe hopefully we'll have a bunch of more things next week.
We will.
With some
Next
things
week
that are announced.
Next week will be a Gamescom edition, as long as there's something worth showing. It's been a little while since E3, so likely seeing some new.
And depending on how much there is next week, I've got some pretty cool, and maybe I'll find a few more videos. But I've got a list of games that are coming out. They're going to be using Unreal Engine 5. So like 3 or 4 or 5 games that are coming out in the next year or two that are using Unreal Engine 5. One of them has a really cool video of actual gameplay, so you can see what a real next generation game looks like with UE5, with all those visuals and all the crazy stuff. So we'll show that next week, and I think people really appreciate it.
Excellent. Yes, a true broadcast professional there, Brian. Stay tuned. Next week we'll have it for you. Yes. Well, we are just at an hour and 39 seconds to be exact. So with that, Mr. Brian, I will say thank you. And where can people find you on the interwebs?
Well, if you want to find me, of course, you can find me at Brian Aldridge on Gab and Parler, my blog, biteoftech.com. And of course, go to infectionpodcast.com, go to the right-hand side and join our server on Discord. I really encourage you to join our news channel in there. If there's a topic that you think is relevant, post it in the news channel, and we review that before every show. We've got our video forms of the podcast. There's Twitch, YouTube, BitChute, and DLive. We have our podcast extras if you want to see some examples of what we talk about before and after the shows. If you want to listen to the show, you can do that through the lower right-hand side. We've got the audio forms of the podcast, a lot of different platforms and ways to listen there. If you're going to do that, just make sure you go to the particular episode, follow along. We've got show notes for every single episode that we've done up to this point. You can click through the links, the videos, documents, all kinds of things as you listen to the podcast. It's really helpful. Got video and audio players in there. If you want to support the show, help us to prepare for the coming conventions next year, you go to the support tab. You can go to infectionpodcast.com/support. We got Subscribe Star there, Humble Bundle, Amazon Prime, and Prime Gaming. Just a lot of different ways that you can support the show. People have done that. We have a really generous amount of money they give us that's going to pay for our convention next year, and hopefully get us, equipment upgrades, everything we need to where it's going to be awesome just to come back and be ready to go. So.
Absolutely. Speaking of those supporters, I want to thank our friend Jonesy for hitting us up with the 22-month resubscription. Jonesy, thank you very much. Appreciate it, and look forward to meeting you in person here in three. Wow, let's hold on. Let me pull up a calendar here. Let's see.
2 or 3 weeks.
24th, 31st, 7th. Yeah, less than 4 weeks. So very much looking forward to that. Brian. Yes. As always, thanks for all that you do, getting everything set up for the program, and we'll see you here next week.
See you next week. Bye.
Alrighty, folks. Well, if you'd like to listen to my political rantings, you can check out the Wilmington's Morning News Podcast, available for free Monday through Friday, without commercials. The podcast is about 2 hours long. It's the full program, and you can go ahead and subscribe to that. You can also visit my website, nickcraig.com. Now, while that website might be good, and why Bite of Tech might be good, and aldridge.home or whatever nonsense domain Brian's got, aldridge.house, the true website, folks, if you missed any portion of this show, it's infectionpodcast.com. I mean, Google's great, YouTube's great, but it's really infectionpodcast.com. Thank you so much for joining us every week. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.